Welcome to Stories with Soul. I am your host, Jamey Ice, musician turned entrepreneur and co-founder of 6th Ave Homes and 6th Ave Storytelling. Over the past 10 years, I have launched multiple successful businesses and have become obsessed with all things entrepreneurship and marketing. I've been on a personal quest to unpack what it takes to make and grow a great brand. One thing that I've discovered is that stories are powerful and that storytelling has the power to set a brand apart. Join me as I dive into the stories of the heavy-hitting leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, and business owners in our community to hear their biggest wins, greatest losses, and their best business secrets. There's a story behind every great brand. Welcome to Stories with Soul. Stories with Soul is brought to you by my company, 6th Ave Storytelling. In 2020, we launched a marketing company on a mission to encourage entrepreneurship and make starting and growing a small business easier than ever before. Since then, we have helped hundreds of small businesses and entrepreneurs grow their brands by giving them the tools, resources, strategy, and support they need to craft and share their stories. If you are thinking about launching and growing your own brand, schedule a meetup with me today. I would love to talk to you. Head over to 6thAveStorytelling.com and let me show you how the storytelling approach can transform your marketing strategy. All right, guys, welcome to another episode. I am joined today by my friend Red Sanders. We just waved at each other.
Yeah. Hi, Jamey.
But man, I'm excited to have you on this. I've been wanting to do this for a while, especially because we've known each other for a really long time. But before we get into the backstory, I'm going to read your bio.
Okie doke.
So Red is the founder of Red Productions. He started his first successful entertainment company at the ripe age of 12, which is wild. I want to hear about that. Since then, he has combined his entrepreneurial spirit, media expertise, and love of visual storytelling to create one of the premier media production companies in DFW. Red Productions is an Emmy Award-winning full-service script-to-screen media production company specializing in national TV commercials, brand films, TV series, and feature-length films. You guys, I feel like, have put film on the map in Fort Worth. Red graduated from TCU in 2004, where he majored in radio, TV, and film, and studied at the Neely School of Business Entrepreneurship program. In 2015, Red worked with the Fort Worth Chamber, Visit Fort Worth, and Mayor Price to found the first ever Fort Worth Film Commission. We can thank you for that. Y'all have, again, changed the game for film in Fort Worth with the goal to promote Fort Worth to outside filmmakers to come and tell stories and create jobs here. Red chairs the Lone Star Film Society Board and is a Texas Media Production Alliance board member, where they just advocated for the entire state. You help push through $200 million in incentives to bring films to Texas, which is a huge deal. You recently created and produced Self-Employed, an 8-episode TV series following our friend and fellow, he's been on the podcast, Jonathan Morris, as he travels the country and shares his stories. That show is on Chip and Joanna Gaines' Magnolia Network and Disney+.
Max now.
Or Max?
Yeah.
It changed? Oh, it's on Max?
Yeah.
Like HBO?
Yeah, but they just call it Max now.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man. I didn't realize that. You also produced Kendrick Lamar's music video for the song N95 here in Fort Worth, and it won Best Cinematography at the 2022 MTV Awards, which is also super cool. He's married to Jenny Sanders, and together they have 3 young children, Hank, Eloise, and Owen. And you guys do all sorts of adventures. You were just in New York this past week, right?
Yeah, for fall break.
So, man, quite the bio. I'm stoked to have you. And again, I feel like you have, man, just done a lot for the city of Fort Worth in terms of making this a place where people want to film and do TV shows. Like, you know, from 1883 to a lot of stuff that has happened here would not have happened if you hadn't planted roots. So anyways, I want to talk about that, but I want to start off our conversation with the first time I met you, and we were reminiscing about this the other day.
Yeah.
I was a freshman at TCU, and I guess you must have been a senior. You've graduated in 2004. You were a senior or a junior. And me and Jimmy had started this thing called the sorority. It was like old school had just come out, and we're like, we're gonna start our own fraternity sorority thing. Anyways, and I got this email, like I distinctly remember I had like this giant desktop with the big, monitor.
Yeah.
And I got this email like midnight from this guy named DJ Red Sanders. and you were like, my name's DJ Red.
DJ Red.
And I would love to DJ a party for you guys.
Yeah.
And anyways, but that was that was how we met. I'm assuming we dialogued back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, when I was at TCU there, I would like DJ parties and weddings and whatnot to pay for school. And so once I got plugged in at TCU and on campus, it was really fun working with all the different
social groups. So you're doing all the parties,
groups,
the fraternities and sororities.
Yeah, I remember I rushed and then I started asking around. And I was like, hey, I got this DJ company, and they're like, oh, cool, so you'll DJ our parties for free. And I was like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Not for free.
I'll actually need weekends off. And they're like, oh, well, no, you're a pledge on the weekends. So I was like, I don't think this is gonna work. But ended up, working with all of them. So
yeah, but and then you were like best friends, good friends with Paul Steele, who was the Green River Ordinance manager for years and years and years, and y'all shared an office, and so it's been fun because I feel like anyways that was back in like 2003, 2002.
Mm-hmm. We're old now.
I know. It's like 21 years ago. This is pretty wild. Okay, well, Red, take me back. So even back then in college, you were hustling. You were hustling. You were DJing. You were doing film stuff. But so you said your bio said you started your first successful entertainment company at 12. What does that?
That was the DJ company.
You were DJing at 12?
Yeah, and I would like show up at events with all my gear, and I had a guy that would assist me, and he was older, and so everyone thought that it was his company, and I was just there to help. And I was like, they would ask him questions like, "Oh, you got to talk to Red," and they're like, "What? That's the guy we booked?"
12-year-old.
But it was really fun. I grew up in Grapevine and just doing lots of different parties and events around town, and then got into weddings. And
did you get like speakers and stuff? Like, how do you start a DJ service?
One of my mom was a teacher at the high school, and one of her students, Willie Trimmer, was graduating, and he kind of just took me under his wing, taught me some of the things, and sold me some of his gear when he moved off to college. And I just and also about that time too, Radio Shack was like still in business, and I would like ride my bike down the street to Radio Shack, and I would like look at all this audio gear and be like, I don't know what this does, but I'm gonna buy it and figure it out.
And were you having to like buy? Were you using CDs and stuff, or like?
Oh yeah.
So you got like a big binder,
big old box of like you carry like 3 different boxes of CDs in and binders, and now you could just show up with a phone.
A little phone. But and so you were making money doing that, And so
much that like I remember when I got like a few years into it, I asked my mom, like, I'm 14, 15, like, should I go get like a regular job? And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I don't know, like Target or something. She's like, people pay you like $30 an hour to come play music at a party. She's like, you what? That's good money. Focus on that. So.
And so were you media? You were into music. Are you still in music? Is music still?
I still love music, and love when we get to do like music videos and kind of combine both there. But yeah, I mean I was like growing up with mom was an artist, is an artist still, and my dad was a flight attendant, and like dad would bring back cameras from Japan before they ever imported them to the U.S. and my mom being an artist too, like we'd just make these fun little like short films with my friends, and that was like early on.
Was this like VCRs or was it? Like
it was
digital,
high 8 digital. Like before, again, like back then, it was wild how much longer it took technology to kind of make the jump overseas. So
your dad would travel, bring you back.
Yeah, we'd have to like go through the menu in Japanese and figure out how to switch it to English.
So you were making movies as a kid?
Yeah.
And and what kind of artist is your mom?
She does a lot of different mediums, but mostly like painting and some sculpture work. So
okay, and that was kind of where you got this artist side.
Yeah, I can't paint for anything like with my hands in a paintbrush, but
you were making home movies. And
always like with the camera early on. There was like it was like DJing and then like messing around with the camera, making our own little home videos. I started being like, oh well, we're doing weddings, so I was like, I'll do wedding video and DJ combined.
You were shooting weddings in high school?
Yeah. And then I realized like no one wanted to pay at that time for a wedding video what they would pay for the DJ side. So I started just doing other things for like on the video side for like nonprofits and churches and whatnot. And
So you were making money as a high schooler doing videos and doing DJs.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because when it came time to figure out college, I was like, mom being an art teacher and dad flight attendant, I was like, looked at some out-of-state colleges, but I was like, well, I got this business going. I guess if I stay here and go to
I can help
college
pay for-
locally, I can keep client base that's here, and keep it going.
So you went into college as a small business owner.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't Red Productions back then, was it?
It was Red's DJ and creative video company, like the longest name ever.
That's so awesome, man. And you studied entrepreneurship? This episode is sponsored by the Fort Worth Business Press. As a Fort Worth entrepreneur and small business owner, the Business Press is my favorite source for news and updates about the entrepreneurial community in and around Fort Worth. I read their email newsletter literally every day. It's always full of insights and stories that really matter. Are you ready to be more connected? Sign up for their free newsletter at fortworthbusinesspress.com. But if you're like me and the newsletter just isn't enough, you can become an insider. With the code STORYTELLING10, all one word, you'll get a discount on the Insider membership. Insiders receive exclusive access to special content, 24 issues of the Business Press delivered to your door each year, and discounts on event registrations and more. Join me and the Fort Worth Business Press in staying up to date on the people, companies, and issues that matter most to Fort Worth.
Yeah, they formed. David Miner has always been a mentor and now a friend, and he started the entrepreneurship program there after a successful sale of his business, and that was like towards the end of my junior year. So basically, like senior year, I took classes in that program, and then I came back after I graduated and audited, like continued taking classes with him.
Good for you. I wish I had done. I don't think like the idea of entrepreneurship or that as a career, that as a thing. I didn't even know what that was. I don't think.
Yeah, it was all like kind of new in
years
higher ed at that time. I think like to actually have a program focused on that and not traditional, finance, accounting, or business management. Because as an entrepreneur, it's very different business to manage. So
yeah, it totally is.
Yeah.
Like in that world, you're learning like the stock market and funds and which is not small business entrepreneurship. So you went to TCU and you worked all throughout college.
Yep.
And what was that transition look like? Like what'd you do after?
Yeah, when I graduated, I sat down with David, who I mentioned a moment ago, and we would do this like breakfast once a month. And it was like 6 months before I graduated, and all my friends with their film degrees were like moving to LA and New York. And
but you didn't have a film degree.
Yeah, I studied radio TV film at TCU. Okay. Yeah. And or that was my major. So, but I told David, and he wasn't in the industry, but he had run a successful business there. I was like, look, I got this good thing going here, it seems like, but it doesn't feel like there's an industry here for it. And friends are moving to LA and New York. Kind of feel like I should go there. And it was such a great conversation that morning, so simple, but it really changed my whole course in life. And he was like, what if you stay here, plant a flag here, grow to where you want to be here, and then go to LA or New York on your own terms, and not have to, if you move out there right now, you'll have to work your way up, and he goes, whatever business you have here probably isn't going to work out there, because it's, you'd be like, I would have been like such a small fish in an ocean there. So, so that was really fun. But like, pretty quickly, once I did that, I realized like, and it was great. You mentioned Paul Still earlier, like still one of my best friends. Like we had offices across the hall from each other at Tech Fort Worth, right after college there. And that was fun, like being in a startup mode with other entrepreneurs. But I also he's in music management, totally different industry. And so I was like kind of lonely in Fort Worth, like in what we're doing. I didn't have this dream of like being the only shop in town. And I wanted other people to feel like welcome here to start and grow or bring their business here.
Lonely in the sense that you were the only one kind of doing this film video world.
Yeah. But also the other big change at that time was YouTube started that same year that I graduated. And so I was like, maybe I can stay here and like make videos, and now that there's like a different distribution platform, it's not all about an expensive 30-second TV spot. And that really was a game changer.
Because you were filming like TCU graduation stuff and selling the DVDs. Is that right? I feel like I remember.
Yeah. I think I thought, man, graduation's really long. How do I make money sitting there? and I went to the school, and Margaret Kelly, who's still a good friend, we were emailing this morning, and I was like, hey, she was in charge of graduation. And I was like, no one videos this. There wasn't screens then, by the way, too. And so we would like bring in screens. We would do like a whole, live, in the space live edit. And then we offered DVDs for people. And
that was like it wasn't through TCU. It was like you're buying the graduation.
Yeah, we did it, kind of in partnership with TCU.
But I remember that, like, I could get a video of my graduate. Well, I didn't actually graduate, but if I did,
we can edit you in. We can go back.
I could have bought it from. But you
let's go get you like a cap and gown.
Yeah,
we'll pull up the old master and
from 2007. I think is what it should have been. Yeah. But you were always hustling. I think that's what I loved about you. Is like you always just had a thing you were chasing and making money doing it.
Mm-hmm. But always like with good people around me, where it was like, from mentors to, our friends / first employees. It's like we were all in that, together in the beginning.
Yeah,
really fun.
So Paul was. I met Paul. We mentioned his name. Paul Steele he's currently partner at 888 Management.
Yeah, in Nashville
but I met him, I think when I was a freshman in high school, or no, a senior in high school. He was like a freshman or sophomore at TCU.
Yeah.
And we were youth leaders on this high school retreat for our church. And anyways, I was like, what do you want to do when you grow up? He's like, I want to be a manager of bands. And I was like, well, I'm in a band.
And
he was like, I'll manage you. But Paul went on to, he manages Drew Holcomb, found Ben Rector, Judah and the Lion. But very, very successful in the Nashville music world. But I remember you guys had this shared, because you were a few years older than me. Y'all had this shared office. It's Tech Fort Worth.
Yeah, we were like across the hall from each other in what we called the kindergarten wing, because I think all the other people who were like older there, were like, what are these college graduates doing down there?
22-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it was always, y'all would be there like at 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah.
And there'd be loud music playing, and they would be playing like basketball with little like Nerf balls.
Yeah. And the alarm would always like automatically arm at midnight, and we'd have to like remember to like run down the hall and disarm it. Otherwise, we'd be like trapped in there. Yeah. Because it would set off the motion detector.
But man, I would just have I have fantastic memories of going up there at like 11 o'clock at night and visiting you guys, and it just seemed so fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, you have these two 22-year-olds with these starting a business with a legitimate office.
Yeah. I remember too, like when we first moved in there, like they had like a little networking thing. It was Tech Fort Worth, and it's still there, and it's a really great resource for entrepreneurs in the city. And but they had like a little mixer thing, and everyone get to know each other, and people were like asking us questions about our business, and someone got like, but do you actually make revenue? I'm like, yeah, this isn't like a treehouse club. Like,
and y'all are both like young looking.
Yeah.
Y'all both have like kind of baby faces a little bit.
I mean, Paul also would probably hate for me to bring it up, but remember at the time, Christ Chapel, he would dress up as Napoleon Dynamite, was like a big film then.
Yeah.
So he also had that look going, which was
the Napoleon look.
It was awesome.
Man. So, and so that was the birth of Red Productions. Was that when Red?
Yeah, that's when when I graduated TCU is when I really started Red Productions and what it is now.
And said, I'm ditching the DJ thing.
Yeah. I mean, I still had it. Like, we had a few DJs and a guy that managed that, and that ran for, I forget, probably 4 more years after graduating.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you remember the last event you personally DJ'd?
No, but I remember when we decided to end it, we were moving into our new studio over here on Faux Street, and Chris, who managed it then, called me and was like, I got really bad news. The police just called. They found our trailer that we like haul gear around in, but it's empty. Someone broke in the storage unit and stole all the equipment. And I was like, that is bad news, because we do have a few more gigs booked. But it's also good news because we don't have to sell all the equipment now. So
you're winding it down.
Yeah, we didn't have to like sell it piecemeal. We just got an insurance check. So
oh man, I feel like I sort of remember that.
It's always those calls though when you're in business. You're like, what's this about to be? Did the new studio just burn down? Like, How bad is this?
Oh man! And did you come on the road with Green River Ordnance ever? Did you like
Yeah.
come fly out and ride in the van with us?
Yeah.
At different points.
Yeah. Maybe
Like
in
in-
like San Francisco one time.
I feel like
Yeah.
our paths have been intertwined for a long time. Okay, so take me to the birth of like you're DJing, you're doing TCU graduations. When did you have like I want to start a production company? Like what was the evolution of like this is what I'm doing, this is the dream? Like what was the dream and the vision, so to speak? And you decided to stay in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
But what was like, did you have a clear here's what I want to build, or
I think it was just like slow steps over time. Like if I think back on that, like the three kind of key moments that stick out are like when I was really young, I was involved in my church leadership, and like in Methodist Church, you have like a conference of all the youth groups. And I did a video for our mission trip to like help. They just needed someone to like make a video to train everyone up and like what to expect. And I was like, I can make that. And that was like halfway through that job, they're like, we're going to pay you for this. And I was like, what? I was just doing this to help. And I was like, oh, people will pay for this. Okay. And then like, in college would be the next big piece. Like what I shared earlier with David, and deciding to stay in Fort Worth was a key moment of like, all right, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to form this company. Cause I literally formed like Red Productions LLC. That's still our company. Like that, 2 weeks after graduation. So,
wow.
And that was a key one. And then I think like the other key one was like, when that goal, remember with David, was like, oh, plant a flag here, go to LA or New York on our own terms.
The goal was still to go to New York.
I always thought like I would be the one to go do that. And Greg Beecham, was the first guy that joined me in this, journey. He was like, employee number one, but great friend too. And a really talented guy. And he had reconnected with this girl. He had, I guess the love of his life now. And he was like, she's in New York. We always talked about opening a New York office. I was like, yeah, you should go do that. So
you opened a New York office, essentially.
Yeah. So Greg moved up there and worked with Ryan Anderson, who we had found through what he was shooting for you guys for Green River Ordnance. Mm-hmm. And we did a lot of work up there for many years. And Birchbox was our like main client up there, which is funny because it was actually his, now wife's
Greg's wife
HBS project. So it was really neat to see how all that came about early on. So those would be like kind of the three key moments of being like, someone will pay me to make a video when I'm really young.
This is a business.
Graduating college, being like, I'm going to stay here rather than go to LA or New York. And then choosing not to be the one to go to LA or New York. And like, instead,
that kind of surprised yourself.
Yeah. So,
was there a moment where you're like, so obviously the David conversation, I'm going to open up I'm going to stay here. Mm-hmm. But was there another moment where like, man, I don't want to leave?
Yeah. I think that's still like a thing, right? Like where it's like you see what continues to happen in Fort Worth and in North Texas here. Each year, like more great things are being built here. The city's becoming just, a more modern, inclusive city. But the art scene that I loved growing up is still really strong. And then now we see like how much of the industry is growing here. And it's really awesome to see that, looking back, I'm like, and it's also great to see like, Greg went up there and was able to start a life up there. And so,
and y'all eventually kind of parted ways.
Yeah. Yeah. He wanted to start his own company and, said, that's great. And
do it.
Obviously Birchbox should be your main client.
Yeah. Which has turned out to be a hugely successful company.
Yeah.
And so Red Productions, what do you guys do a lot?
Yeah.
Did a lot. It's evolved over the years. What is, walk me through what Red Productions is.
What we are now is a team of, there's about 20 of us full time.
Okay.
And then, we, on Red Productions side, like we focus on working with like ambitious Texas-based brands.
Okay.
Who have a vision and get it. And
that's like your mission statement?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's not to say we don't work with agencies too. Like we work with agencies a lot. And, but as we've seen more brands relocate to Texas, we've seen that they, a lot of times, will work directly and want just kind of a video agency for their moving image work. And so that's an area where we really excel.
And that's you're producing content for brands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like brand films and commercials and then we have Red Entertainment. That's our original content side. So that's where we're doing, feature length films that are like scripted or documentary, unscripted. And that's also what we did our TV series Self-Employed with Jonathan.
Okay, so those are two totally different companies.
Mm-hmm.
So Red,
but they work a lot together.
Yeah,
so.
is it some of the same crew? I guess. And so Red Productions, and you are not you're not a director, right?
Mm-mm. You're
a producer.
Yeah, I learned that early on.
Explain the difference between those two things, because I didn't understand that for a while. Because I now know, so I'm playing dumb here.
Yeah.
For those who are not in the world, walk me through what a production company does, what it is, and sort of your superpower in the film world. Because it's not
the producer's main role is really putting the business together of each project, and if it's a commercial, kind of managing that account relationship with the client, and making sure that all the right production logistics are there and ready on the day to make it a success. And ultimately, they're removing obstacles for the director so that the director can realize their creative vision. Mm-hmm. And so that, the director doesn't get bogged down with a client, budget question or, maybe some aspects around the deliverable calendar or things like that. But so really the producer is kind of the person that brings all the business together around that project. And then
put the team together.
Yeah, puts the team together.
The gear, the setup.
Yeah. And then the director is there, really to help bring the creative vision to life. It's there's the script is words on a page or a treatment deck, right? And a lot of times they're helping craft that as well. So while while the producer's working, it's kind of like a left brain, right brain thing, I guess. Mm-hmm. So that the director's not having to do things that maybe distract them from what they're just talented and uniquely hardwired to be successful at.
Mm-hmm. And so you have the superpower, and I can attest to this just from our history, but also just even listening to how you've the things you've described thus far in your sort of your journey. You have this crazy ability to sort of see the big picture and then go really micro, to see every detail that because you're doing a shoot like some of the giant commercials that y'all have done to a feature film.
Yeah,
there's RVs, there's catering, there's food. You have truckloads of equipment. You have, I remember you were doing a commercial for Pier 1 and y'all rented out one of our houses.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There's 50 people that show up and all of this stuff. And you're the guy wrangling that whole thing, putting the whole thing together.
Yeah. I mean, not just me now. We do have a great team of producers.
But that is our company. Yeah. Yeah. And that's your company. That's your superpower.
Yes.
You have always been, the guy who can handle all the details. Making sure the producer makes sure the balls don't get dropped. And I'm assuming.
And the biggest thing I think in business was realizing that I am more uniquely, I think, gifted in the looking at the big picture for the business and the team and even the city and where we want to grow. And then I realized early, this was probably 8-10 years ago. I'm I'm not the details guy in a long-term sense. I can hone in and I'm ADD. So growing up, it was great.
You were ADD growing up?
Oh yeah, totally.
Really?
And so it was great. Just come up with new ideas. But then before I finish one idea, I've already come up with another one. So I realized we needed a team that was balanced in both kind of visionaries and integrators to actually make that work. And so that's really what we've built the team around now, is making sure that we've got some people like me and some people not like me.
Was there a moment there where you realized, okay, this sort of production world is my wheelhouse? Less so, because I'm assuming going to film school and launching, you have these creative ambitions,
Yeah.
But was there a point where y'all were okay, this logistical side, this production side is really what we want to focus on as a company?
Yeah. I think it was early on in business where I realized I don't want to. I didn't feel like my strengths were as the director, and Greg was actually really talented and coming up with ideas and really was kind of our first like on staff director.
Okay.
And then as we've grown over the years, like we actually now have like a roster of directors that we represent.
Really?
And pitch, based on making sure that their unique creative skills
kind of
line
like a
up.
management company almost?
Yeah.
Are you a small business owner or an entrepreneur? Do you do marketing for a small business? If so, I have something that I want to give you, and it's totally for free. We've put together a free resource at 6appstorytelling.com/download, and it's the secrets, it's the tips, it's the tricks, it's the tools of the trade. It's literally everything we do at 6app Storytelling to help small businesses grow. Go download it today at 6appstorytelling.com/download.
So, but I think it was pretty early on. I realized I'm like, I like focusing on all this other stuff, like putting the business and the team together and really finding everyone's strengths and making sure we're on the right seat on the bus, all knowing which way the bus is headed. So,
and where the bus, and then also knowing like the budget and the business side of it as well.
Yeah.
You've always been good at how do I, because there's a lot of starving artists.
Yeah.
There's a lot of artists that have ambitions in the entertainment world, but don't know how to.
I mean, I think on that, like going way back, like it was seeing my mom when I was 12, like my parents got divorced and, at the time when I was 12, it was like my whole world going like, what's happening? But now it's like, they're still, close and friends. But seeing mom go from like artist and art teacher to then having to learn how to like balance a checkbook, I learned that with her at the same time. Like we learned Quicken or QuickBooks now together.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And so that was really cool actually, like as early on to be like, how do you, balance a checkbook? And so I would like keep track of all of my business expenses in there at a really early age. Yeah.
Dude, that's so amazing.
So but then like I know that's not my strength long term. I can hone in and focus on that for a little bit, but like Morgan, our controller, is incredible.
Way better than you are.
And has been,
And so now you're like, what would you? You've talked a lot about just deferring to the team and bringing the team together and building the team. What is sort of your day in, day out role now?
Yeah. Man, every day is a little different, but overall it's about just, being a leader for our team, both at Red Productions, Red Entertainment, and then Backlot is our studio and workspace. In addition to that, I'm on a couple of different, boards like the Lone Star Film Society, which we've got the Lone Star Film Festival in November here. And then TXMPA is like at the state level. And so for me, it's always been like cultivating community is one of our core values for the Red Productions. But it's also like, we always look at that as like, what can we do to grow the community within our team here, within our community in the city here, and then like within a larger kind of state. And so that really is a lot of my day-to-day now is like, how do we grow the community?
Putting the team together.
Yeah.
In the community side.
Yeah. And the part of that team is like literally all the other businesses here in town that we know, like, in creative industry businesses here that collectively we all like make kind of the workforce work here. And so
it's much more people oriented is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Your job is sort of rallying the troops, bringing the team together.
Yeah.
Getting buy-in, casting the vision.
Yeah. And that still applies like on a project level, like for our bigger projects, I'm still, involved in the outset of putting those together. So.
And then, okay, so just put a little bow on Red Productions for a little bit, because I want to talk about entertainment. When we talk about Backlot, we haven't even scratched the surface on that. And then I want to go into the advocacy. But give me some of a couple just who all have you worked with at Red Productions? Because I've worked with some pretty big, cool brands.
Yeah. On Red Productions side, like everyone, like from Dallas Cowboys and Coca-Cola were two of our like earliest big clients, and I learned through that like the value of a big name on our portfolio, because then people are like, oh, these guys that look like they're 12, like I mean we were 22, 24 then, but now it's like, yeah, I mean we work a lot with the Texas Rangers. We've been doing a lot of work with, and that's been fun right now.
You do a bunch of their
recording
commercials.
This, we're in the playoffs and hopefully World Series by the time this comes out. And then we've got, a spot with Comerica. We just did a McDonald's spot last week.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we work with a lot of local businesses too, though. I mean, so it's not to say that like we only work with these big brands. It's like, the crazy thing has been like the big brand budgets have like shrunk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like small and medium sized businesses have realized the value in video. And so there's a lot of our top clients like are brands that like people wouldn't have heard of, like Worldwide Express. Now, maybe, I mean, if you're a NASCAR fan, they do have like a NASCAR car, but like we had never heard of them whenever they first called in. It's almost like one of those names that like, is this a real company? Worldwide Express? But they're very real and they have a great team and headquartered here in Dallas. And so like that's been a lot of our success for Red Productions is all the headquarters that have relocated to Texas and North Texas.
Because part of your mission is like working with Texas-based
brands, yeah. And talked with Adriana Cruz, the governor's head of economic development, last month when she was up here speaking, and it was really cool to see like how the state's efforts at economic development, meaning bringing new business here, has really paid off for all the small businesses here. Because she showed a stat that was like since 2016, there's been, I forget the actual number, but it was like 450 maybe corporate headquarter relocations to Texas. That's a lot when you think of a full corporation. And half of those came from California. And so it's really cool to see like just how many businesses are moving here.
And the trickle down effect.
And the trickle down effect of like all the businesses that they then work with locally. So
that's cool. So Red, when did Red Entertainment?
Red Entertainment, we started, it was probably like 3 years into just being graduated from.
Okay, so it was Red Entertainment was back then too.
Yeah, we did. Like,
I didn't realize that
our first film, like was Searching for Sunny with Andrew Disney.
Oh my gosh!
And
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
was that really back in like 2010?
Yeah, 2000. Yeah, that would have been like 2010.
Okay, so that was your first.
Grow had a song in it. Josh was in it, I think.
Was he? So Andrew Disney was one of my like best friends in high school. And, and he is like an artist.
Yeah.
As long as I've known him.
It runs in the name.
Yeah, it does. But he's like just a true creative.
He is.
Always had a camera, always was doing these wild, he did the first Screen Affordance music video, but just always just doing wild. And then he went to NYU and then he lived in LA. And he wrote, TV shows and stuff. But he did, I guess that was like his kind of first.
Yeah, that was his NYU kind of senior project. He wrote this script called Searching for Sunny.
And y'all did the production on it?
Yeah, so we produced that and his next film as well, which was called Intramural, but then got released as Balls Out. And those were really fun to go through together with
and
Andrew.
Balls Out had a pretty like killer cast.
Yeah, it was like when we were making it, we knew we had real talent, but we didn't necessarily like. Jake Lacey was in it, Kate McKinnon, Beck Bennett, Jay Farrow, Nikki Reed, who had just been in Twilight. But yeah, we had Kate. No,
and Minka Kelly, was she in Sunny? Or?
She was in Sunny.
She was in Sunny.
Yeah,
both these had some pretty big names.
Yeah. But yeah, whenever Balls Out came out, it was like 3 of our cast members then were like regular SNL cast members, and so there was like 3 SNL cast members team up for hilarious, an intramural comedy. So,
and that was, and you had never done anything like that before.
I mean,
I'm sure the learning curve.
Yeah, the learning curve for each film has always been like, take what we learned in the last one, let's move it forward to the next. And the great thing with those first 2, was like how much the community of Fort Worth and others in Texas like got behind us and supported us with, either their investment and belief in us or like locations. Like we didn't know it better at the time. Andrew wrote this for Searching for Sunny. There was a shootout on an airport tarmac with a private jet. We read that script now as a producer, we're like, that was going to be an expensive scene to make. Back then we're like, yeah, no, we can make this. But luckily, there was a family in Fort Worth that let us use their jet with the right insurance. And
but you're in charge of something like that, like finding the insurance.
Yeah, but not just finding the jet, the insurance. The shootout involved a police chase as well, so like we got to have like police cars out there. It was
and the production company. That's the type of stuff you're putting together. Dude, that's so wild.
Yeah.
So Red Entertainment is like the creative. You're making films, you're making TV shows. That started literally 3 years
into it. Yeah.
Into it.
And what we would do is we would always take like a portion of our profits in Red Productions and we would put it into development of these film ideas. It's not to say that we were funding the films, but we were at least funding that first stage to get the business. Each film's a separate business.
Okay.
And so to get that all set up and put together had some startup costs still. And so.
And the like, how do those films make money? Like, do you like
most films don't make money?
Okay.
But the ones that we've been fortunate to make money on is like, you know, and really how a film makes money. So it's typically like, you know, you raise whatever the budget is. It's 200,000 or 2 million or 10 million. And you make sure you've got enough money to get the film fully completed. But really our job as a, you know, when you're making the movie is to get a film that will attract a distributor that will then take it to market.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal is like we're not going to be the ones to actually make sure it's on, well, we are going to make sure we get the deal to get it on like a Netflix or, you know, in theaters, even with some of them.
And you sell it to the production company, essentially, right?
We sell it to we are the production company. We sell it
or you
license
to
it
the
to a
distributor.
distributor.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And so as the producers, like that's where we're involved in that, you know, throughout years. And then like even once we license it to a distributor, we're following up with the distributor and making sure they're actually doing what they said they were going to do.
Because like Balls Out, y'all licensed to
MGM under Orion. And it was crazy because it was called Intramural. And their marketing department came back at the studio and was like, guys, we think it would be really funny if we call it Balls Out. And we're like, that's not really. And they showed us the artwork and it was this woman's butt in a bikini. And it wasn't even real. It was like clearly, this is before AI, but this was like clearly a photoshopped bikini butt. And it was like this semester, everyone scores. And we're like, did y'all watch the movie?
Yeah,
like,
it was
there's
like they sexualized it.
Yeah, they marketed it as this sexualized movie and there's no nudity in it.
It was just.
Yeah, we're like, there's just a bunch of disappointed, you know, 13-year-old boys out there that are explaining to their parents why they rented it on their VOD.
So talk me through some of the other projects that you've done.
You know, in more recent years, we did a film called A Bad Idea Gone Wrong with Jason Headley that we shot. It was his first feature, but he had done a lot of commercial work. We shot that all here in Fort Worth, and then that premiered at South by Southwest the next year and won Best Cast for the festival.
Oh, that's cool.
And then through that, Jason was able to kind of launch into the you know, entertainment side of the business and his next job was like writing Onward for Pixar and then Lightyear most recently too. So
he did Lightyear?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
and so it's been cool working with these directors where we work with them in commercials, but we also, you know, help work with them on the entertainment side because a lot of people in the industry have ambitions to do both. Like they're both creative sides, but a lot of times if you're in one side and you don't know how to maybe get to the other, it's like, well, we actually have a leg in both. So we can help with that.
Because you do both. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were just up in New York with our family here for fall break. And we were back in a town that a few years back, we shot a film called 1% More Humid in. That was with Juno Temple and Julia Gardner. And they literally, both of them left our shoot. Julia flew to Ozark season 1.
Wow.
And that became a huge success. And Juno went next to do Ted Lasso, and that became so sometimes it's like we'll catch this talent right before they go on to
pop.
The next big thing. And it's great to get to work with them.
Maybe you're causing that.
I don't know.
That's why.
We got, you know,
that's your
good
pitch.
partners too. And the casting directors are so key. And a good friend of mine, Lindsey Graham from TCU, has cast many of like Academy Award winning films now, but it's a real talent that like a lot of times gets overlooked. Because so often in the industry, I was emailing with our director last week on our next film we're working on. And he was like, you know, the foreign sales team will like rank everyone with like A, B, C. And he's like, this feels so weird to see just a number next to someone's name that feels really, a letter.
Oh, so actors
subjective.
have a like a letter next to it, like
it's like in foreign sales, they'll go down the list and it's totally in that company's own viewpoint, but they're like, that's what this person is worth right now, not their talent, but that's like in their mindset in the international market. That's what they think they could, like the ones that are A are the ones that they have the most confidence in being able to sell in the market. So
that's interesting. I've never heard any of that before.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So
and then when did the Kendrick Lamar video
Yeah.
was Red Entertainment, right?
Red Productions, but
That was Red Productions.
Yeah. And it was one where they called, we had worked with someone else. So Solange Knowles did a video here like the year prior, and we helped that team with some stuff. And some of the people we worked with on that remembered us, and she wanted to get a horse in a museum. And thanks to Eric and the Kimball, we were able to make that happen. And so that guy remembered that. And
That's the kind of stuff that you pull off.
the next summer, it was summer of 2020. COVID's,
Yeah.
just taken over. And it's like, they can't shoot in LA at all. And so they call and they're like, hey, we saw like Texas is open. Could we come there and shoot a video? And we're like, yeah. I didn't say yeah immediately. We checked and made sure like everything was actually within the COVID protocols.
Because that was in 2020.
Yeah, it was like
In the
summer
height
of
of all the-
2020. You had no rapid testing.
Yeah.
The fire department came by and like tested everyone, and then like took that to the lab right away so that we wouldn't have to wait the 2 days turnaround.
Okay.
Because
The fire department did it?
yeah, because there was no other way to get a.
Because that was when it
COVID
was
test
still
back.
chaos. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
what is happening?
Mhm.
But you can't say no to like Kendrick Lamar wants to do a music video.
Yeah,
You're like, we're gonna figure that out.
yeah. I mean, the only Pulitzer Prize winning rapper out there. So, and it was so great to work with, and Dave Free, his director on that and partner, and PG Lang. Like, it was really cool seeing like how much they just like what great creative minds they are, but also like, how they go about creating both music and these music videos was really cool. And it was definitely like our certainly biggest music video shoot yet. And then it was like, because bands couldn't, because all the big arena tours were canceled, they basically had to wait until they could, what do you call it? Like book a, arena tour before they released the album. So it was like 2 years.
They sat on it for a while.
2 years. Yeah, we were like, is this ever going to come out? And then it came out last spring, like spring of 22, and it's like 70 million views now, and it's
Wow.
awesome.
Because I was like, where did that come from? I had no idea that was happening.
Yeah, and we got a, I think you maybe said we got nominated for MTV Music Video Awards, VMAs,
Okay.
but we didn't.
Oh, you didn't win it?
We lost to Harry Styles and someone else, but we did win this summer the AICP award, which is our big like association of independent commercial producers, and we won. They have a music video category, and we won that this summer. And it was by winning that, they put all the work each year into the archives at the MoMA in New York.
Oh, wow.
It was really fun. Like, I saw it as it screened
saw
there
it
at the
at the MoMA?
MoMA, and then as I'm walking out, this guy walks up and he's like, "Man, that was so cool! Like, those locations were amazing. Did y'all like go to Japan for that?" And I was like, "No, that was in Fort Worth,
The water gardens.
the water gardens specifically." Yeah, he was
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah,
Man, that's cool. And then, so I mean, you've done some fun stuff. So you're bouncing back and forth between Rangers and Cowboys and Coca-Cola and corporate world.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing these kind of wild, big film projects and music videos. And then y'all did the TV show.
yeah,
Like how? And that was your idea, right? That was
yeah. It was.
that was your show, Jonathan's.
Yeah.
But you sort of put the thing together and.
We went down. We had this great friend, Trey Selman, who's the most like talented writer I know, and just he's from Texas, loves Texas stories, and we're working together on a project called Fruitcake, and he at the same time of that was working with Magnolia, and helping them kind of figure out like as they were getting ready to launch the network, and Magnolia's like Chip and Joanna Gaines' company, obviously.
They essentially
in Waco.
took over Discovery Network.
They
right?
got a network, yeah, that was previously called something else on Discovery, and they completely redid it as Magnolia. And so,
And sorry to pause. The Fruitcake, was that the documentary about the guy that embezzled all the money?
yeah, $18 million embezzled from the Collins Street Bakery.
I watched
over
that.
8
Did you do
years.
that?
We did that, yeah.
I didn't know you did that documentary.
Yeah.
I watched
And
that.
so, yeah, Fruitcake Fraud, that came out on Discovery.
Okay.
And then we've been working on a feature, like scripted feature for that. And
Oh, really?
Which we're actively like casting and putting back together right now. It got completely derailed by COVID a few years back. So we did the documentary in the meantime.
Okay.
Now we're back to the scripted one.
So you're putting that. There's gonna be a feature film about that crazy story.
Yeah.
Dude, that's cool. Okay, so you're doing this fruitcake thing. You got connected with this guy who's working with.
Yeah, and so Trey sends this email one day that says field trip to Fort Worth, and he's got all the Magnolia leadership team on there. And I was like, we call him up like, hey, so field trip? Like, you guys gonna come up? We're gonna have lunch. Maybe they wanted to check out our studio we built here, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna be there all day. So I was like, okay, let's put together
This is
an
like
agenda.
Chip and Joanna are part of it.
It was they weren't able to join. Something popped up, but it was all the rest of their leadership team
of the
there.
network.
And then that team went back, and the next day met with Chip and Joe, and then like we ended up going to Waco the next like Monday, and I was like, I remember being like, oh, second date already. Okay.
Did you have the idea for the show?
We were pitching
then?
a different show about, two like commercial real estate folks.
Okay.
And Jonathan was like a tenant in their building, and so it was going to be about like how in commercial real estate, how commercial real estate, developers work with small businesses. And we played that reel, and Allison, the head of the network, was like, they're twins. It's the M2G
Okay.
twins. They're Susan and Jessica, and Allison's like, when I see twins, I think Property Brothers, but that reel on Jonathan Morris, I want a whole show about that guy.
Because he's so cool.
He is so cool.
Yeah.
And so I called Jonathan on the way back because I was like, I played that reel. It was something Visit Fort Worth made about Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
I just played it as like a little sample of him as a person and character here. And they said, I was like, I don't know if he wants a show about him. I call him on the way back, and I was like, would you ever want to be on TV? And he was like, oh, maybe. But we worked out like a couple of different, concepts with that show, but landed on Self-Employed, and it was really fun to get to.
And
go
they
out
bought it. Magnolia said, we'll do it. And you had never done TV at that point, right?
Not TV like that.
In that sense.
Yeah, we'd had like our films had been on TV, but that was just, it's a totally different process. It's a lot more like a commercial because it's like you pitch an idea, and then if the network likes it, they, buy it and they're financing it and distributing it. Whereas on a film, most of the time as independent film, you're making the film on spec. So you've got to go raise independent financing that's at risk until you have a distributor that's going to pay the investors back for it. So it was a lot more like running a big commercial when you're doing unscripted TV.
It's a little less pressure when it's someone else's money versus,
well, it's always someone else's money.
Yeah.
So there's always like that pressure, but it's not whether you're going to make the network is choosing to invest their money in that concept, knowing that they're going to release it on their network. So we don't have that gap risk of like, we've raised money for this movie, but we don't know who the distributor is. So.
Mm-hmm. And was that y'all made 8 episodes? Is that right?
Yeah. We did a season 1 of it. And then by that time, the network had kind of settled into what its main focus is. And that's really largely on, home design and remodel and gardening and food, obviously. So small business didn't make the cut for the next, season of the network.
But you got to do it, and it was great.
Yeah.
It was good for Fort Worth. It was.
Yeah.
It changed Jonathan's life in probably a big way.
Yeah.
And so you're bouncing back and forth between these two companies. Are you spending more time with one over the other? Like, or is it 50-50?
Depends on the week, but it's like, it's kind of a third, and a third. It's like a third with each of those, and then a third with like kind of the volunteer stuff I do with the state and in Lone Star here. So
I want to get into that. But the other thing we haven't mentioned, we mentioned briefly, is you also built a big studio.
Yeah.
Backlot. What is that? Tell me about that.
So Backlot is our way to pay forward what we were, given in Tech Fort Worth, which was like Tech Fort Worth provided us with a space to launch our business, to actually like get out of my college house and have a real office that like clients actually took us serious at. And when we started Backlot, it was before co-working was a thing. I think maybe there was like a co-working spot in Dallas and one like, Nashville or something, but there was nothing over certainly in Fort Worth. And so we started it as a way our neighbors moved out at our old office, and we were like, just took over their lease, and we just figured we'll provide a space for other entrepreneurs that need a spot to work out of.
Mm-hmm.
And then as that kind of movement grew, because that was like 11 years ago now, and as we moved into our new building, we really built the new building out specifically to cater to creative businesses. And so we're, Red Productions is in Backlot, as is many other creative companies here. We've had companies like 12 Midnight came in, Dustin and AJ, when they just were starting, is kind of their side hustle. They had other full-time jobs, but they were first members in the new studio here, and they grew from a team of 2 to 5 to 7, and just graduated out to their own space. And that's what we want to, like, whether it's someone that's launching and growing, or someone that's moved here to Texas and is staying here. Like Farlow Media has like been a great member as well, and so a lot of them are other production companies. Our only rule is that you've got to be like a creative business or in a creative role in a larger business.
Okay.
Maybe you need a spot you're working remotely
people
at.
work there, but you also have a big like studio.
Yes. So part of
sound studio.
The other reason why we do that is like, one, we know that creatives, I think we say creativity loves company.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like everyone's like helping each other out at the, espresso machine. Like, hey, I need a crew member for something like this. And no one's required to work together, but everyone ends up like doing some work together with each other. And then because we built the studio as well as part of it, we wanted there to be businesses in there that would, need something like that, amenities. So,
and there wasn't really a big, was it a sound studio or a sound stage?
Yeah,
is that what it's called?
Yeah.
It's basically just a giant room.
Yeah.
That's
with
white.
a white cyc, and then the other wall is kind of a patinaed brick.
And then you have all these lights. It's basically a studio where you can film stuff.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't anything like that here in Fort Worth.
Yeah, there wasn't like...
There wasn't Dallas.
Yeah. I'm trying to think then. Like Studios 121, I think had gone under a different name and wasn't available for public rent. So there really wasn't... Yeah, there wasn't like a soundstage publicly available to rent. Mm-hmm. And so we worked with the state and the city to create the Media Production Development Zone, which provides an incentive for other people to build out infrastructure that's media related here. And by creating that zone, there's like 3 projects that are allowed in the zone. And so we were the first project in that. But by doing that, we had already kind of paved the way for there to be 2 other companies to come along and do it as well. What was funny was like establishing that zone got a lot of press. And also I think with like COVID, like just a lot of other people decided to build studios, and now it's like there's 5 here. And so that's been, cool to see, like, especially as far as like there's it's helping, I think, support the other creative businesses that are.
It's like when the waters rise, all ships rise,
yeah,
so to speak. So and this is a great segue. This segues us into,
yeah, because that was like literally what I always said when we started the film commission was like, rising tide lifts all boats, like.
So you have your hands in all this film stuff, which even does it feel crazy you saying a lot of this? Because I still am like, I don't know how he had time to do all these wild things.
I mean, Jenny is amazing.
Your wife.
And has been such a great, partner in life and our family. And then also we met initially, like there was a video that played at the convention center one day for a nonprofit we did, like at a fundraising luncheon. And I walked up, and I just happened to be walking past a mutual friend of ours that she had come with, and her friend she said to her friend, "That video was really great," and her friend's like, "Oh, DJ Red did that," because her friend knew me in college and still called me DJ Red. But
I'm gonna start calling you DJ Red again.
Yeah, so Jenny was like working in advertising then at an ad agency here, and then later worked at TCU, and we've always like worked together on projects. She's been the client a lot of times, But honestly, it's like, being able to kind of bounce the business strategy and the growth we want to see in the community and in our business here and our family has been so fun to.
She's been a big part of that.
Yes.
So at some point you went from, all right, I'm gonna stay in Fort Worth. Eventually gonna go to New York. Okay, I'm not gonna go to New York.
Yeah.
At what point were you? Because I feel like. Again, I said this earlier, but so much of I feel like you recently have changed like the state of film in Texas, the state, but you really you did a lot of work and a lot of time to to bring film and bring media and raise an artist community in the city.
Yeah.
At what point did you sort of this mission kick on? Like, I am on a mission to make Fort Worth
The
film
mission
famous.
kicked on when we were on a mission.
Okay.
That's what they call it. So the city will travel on what they call a mission. We were in China with Mayor Price and then Mayor Rawlings from Dallas. They would go and promote the city in other regions.
In China.
And so I'm sitting there watching.
Why were you in China on there?
I don't remember why I got invited to that. We were looking at putting together a film fund that would utilize this incentive that was more so used out of like between China and U.S. trade. So we didn't end up doing that, but it was really cool to go on that trip and see. It was like sometimes you got to like leave town to appreciate it. And so I'm seeing how they pitch the city abroad in the region, and I'm seeing all the growth stats they're sharing there. And it's like I'm looking back and going, man, because we've been in business 10 years then, and I was like seeing the growth of this region over 10 years, and it was after one of the days of meetings there, Mayor Price and I were like having a glass of wine, and she's like, in her true Mayor Price voice, she's like, now, Red, what can we do to grow the creative class of Fort Worth? And I was like, something we talked about a while back, but I couldn't get momentum behind it, was we need a film commission. And it's like a specialty economic development arm for the city. And Dallas has one, but they're paid by Dallas City Hall. So like they only would send people to Fort Worth when they needed like cows walking down the street. So, which is a great thing that we offer, but we offer a lot more than that. And so she was like, we talked about it there some, and then met when we got back. Mitch Whitten and Bob Jameson would visit Fort Worth, jumped on board, and David Brzezina with the chamber. And it became a really cool, like, to see how vast, like in Fort Worth, whenever, the way, like, it's such a yes city. It's like you throw out an idea of something and people are like, yeah, let's do that. And they get excited about it. And so with that kind of...
I would say that is so true.
Yeah.
If it's for the good of the city, there's a communal aspect of if you're for Fort Worth, if you're for, I want to do something altruistic, people really do support you and get behind you in a big way.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
like a year
said
to
we
the
need
day.
a film commission.
Yeah. And then a year to that month, I guess, that we were on that trip, the next October, we launched the film commission. And so we're coming up on 8-year anniversary. Wow. Actually, it's while we're recording this, I think it's like tomorrow.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's on my calendar as a reminder each year.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. And so, Jessica Christofferson has been our film commissioner since we launched it. And she has done such an incredible job of, fulfilling the mission of the commission, which is like, marketing the city and cultivating it. Really, what we've always said is like being a beacon for the creative class here. So for those that are already here, providing ways for everyone to get together and work together and grow together. For those that want to bring business and media production to the area, it's about like helping them, meet who they need to meet whenever because each project that comes in, again, is a whole new business. And, when we go shoot in another town, we reach out to that film commission because we don't want to step on toes or break any rules or anything. Like, we want to do business properly in that town, but every town's a different set of rules and people to know. So,
and it seems like from outsider that our film commission has really, if you want to film in Fort Worth, we're going to roll out the red carpet.
Yeah.
Like we want. So talk. Can you brag a little bit about just some of the stuff y'all have done or helped bring here? Or?
Yeah. So through the film commission, we've been able to attract a lot of great movies here, and commercials, like hundreds of commercials that again would have passed on. When you don't have a film commission, someone Googles, like, they're going to go to that town and they type in Fort Worth Film Commission and Dallas comes up. Like, yeah, that was the problem.
Yeah.
So, but some of the big things have been like, Ghost Story with Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. That was David Lowery, James Johnson, Toby Hall Brooks film. Then Never Going Back, Augustine Frizzell's feature film debut. She was, she won, I think, Sundance with that one. We filmed Patty Day Gone Wrong here, that won South by. And, another really cool one was Miss Juneteenth. And I love that one because Channing Peoples grew up here. She and her husband Neil were living in LA, and they came back. They were early on in the film commission. I remember we met them, and just seeing, like, they wanted to come back. Channing, wanted to tell a uniquely Fort Worth story about Opal Lee and the Miss Juneteenth pageant here. And she did that so well, and it premiered at Sundance January 2020. But then that film released and I think helped, and obviously Miss Opal was the main leader of Juneteenth, but it was really cool to see that film was able to come out the same summer that Juneteenth was made a national holiday. And so it was able to be a really great way to kind of memorialize some of that history here. And then, so a lot of, like, I'd say, like, successful films in the independent space right there. But then, like, the big, like, win for Fort Worth was whenever we, Taylor Sheridan, who grew up just west of town here, came back to shoot 1883 here. And then ultimately has moved back and now is shooting as much as their team can, make sense to shoot here. And it's been really cool to see their commitment to Texas and to just kind of, like, I don't know, bucking the norm of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so,
and when 1883 was filming here in the stockyards, like, people loved it.
yeah,
There was, like, so my perspective, again, as an outsider, was Taylor is filming this show here. The show's on Paramount. It's a huge deal. The city is kind of come take over the stockyards. People are loving it. You get to be extra. People are like friends are extras in it. And it seemed like, man, this was so good for the city.
Yeah, because when a major production comes to town, not only does it help, put the city out there in a positive light, but the amount of businesses that a major production, puts their money into is huge, because for 1883, they'll have like 200 extras on set in period piece clothing. Well, that's all got to be dry cleaned, like a couple times a week, because they put all that dirt down on the streets too. So, like, dry cleaners get business, caterers get business, truck drivers get business, and then on 1883, I think they employed about 800 people here. And then on the newest one, Bass Reeves, it was 1,600. So it's like they're continuing to grow too, the amount of people they hire. And out of those people that they hire, a lot of them are Texas residents. In fact, like, I think it's like 70% had to be before. That's now lowered to 55% because it's like they're hiring so many people, there wasn't enough workforce for the incentive side. So,
and then the tourism it caused.
And then the tourism, because, well, the first tourism is the wave of the crew and cast that comes in from out of state, because they're staying in hotels. They get daily per diem, which they then spend at local restaurants and shops and other businesses. And then the next wave of tourism is when the show comes out. And now people, if you go down to the stockyards now, when they do the cattle drive, listen to there's an announcer doing like a whole PA thing. Everything he's talking about to the just lines of people along the street there, and the 8 million visitors a year that go to the stockyards is about 1883 and like all the different spots that they shot in the stockyards and all that. So it's really cool to see that we've got a filmmaker like Taylor Sheridan back here. And because when we started the film commission, we actually talked to legislators at that time and said, at that time, Breaking Bad was like the hit TV show. And we're like, I mean, if a show about a middle school teacher cooking meth it created a big tourism boom in Albuquerque. Yeah. Like if a show about that can create a tourism boom, what would it be if we had like a show actually more in line kind of with like this area? And so I think that's what's been really cool, is like how well it one supports the other, as far as like that the stockyards is a thing and isn't just like a backlot that was built for the show. And so they literally only just like they brought in dirt and they maybe like took out a couple street posts like that were modern. So,
and this was this test case of here's the economic impact and like the city pride impact, film, TV can have on a city. And you guys said we need more of that. And Texas historically was not
receptive.
Was not super film friendly.
Yeah, it wasn't competitive. So you have incentives. 38 states have incentives. And they started.
What does that mean? That incentives
means,
meaning we want you to come film here. We'll give you.
Yeah, it means there's this. A lot of times you'll read in the news all the time, like every week, basically, council's voting on a new incentive package to attract a brick and mortar company to build and grow here. That's an incentive process meant for businesses that are here long term. And it's a good one. It doesn't work for film, though, because most films and TV shows come to town, they spend a lot of money in 3 to 6 months, and then they're gone. But then the next one comes to town and spends money, but it's a totally different business. So states created state-level incentive financing programs that were specific to the film and TV and commercial industry. And they said, okay, if you come here and you hire X amount of people that are Texas residents and you spend X amount of money here, we'll give you a rebate back based on that money that you actually spend here. And so it's never paid out up front. It's always after you turn in all your receipts and hit all the rules for it. And so Texas was, I mean, compared to our neighboring states, we were just not at all competitive. Louisiana had like $700 million in financing. New Mexico had 200. Oklahoma had 150. And
what's Georgia at?
Georgia's the whole other stratosphere.
Because Georgia's like
Georgia has, I think, no cap, but now they're considering a cap on it.
But so many films are made in Georgia.
Yes. And so Georgia and Louisiana started the incentive game, domestically. But Louisiana started it after Katrina hit as a way to get business back in quickly. And Georgia started it after the 2008 housing crisis, again, as a way to attract business in that wasn't going to take years to build brick and mortar. Because on a film and TV show, we bring everything. We build the set. We bring generators for power. They even bring toilets. So you don't
like a little city.
Yeah. And so, but in looking at our neighboring states, especially, like I just said, so
you said Louisiana,
New Mexico, 200. Oklahoma, I think, was 150, and Louisiana was like 750 million.
Wow.
And we had 45 million for a 2-year budget.
Okay.
And when 1883 came to the state, and along with a couple other big projects, because, mind you, Texas was open earlier than other states for business, that 45 million was pretty much fully committed by like 6 months into a 24-month budget cycle for the state. And so we had a problem because, Sheridan wasn't just bringing one show here and leaving town and going to the next state for his next project. He moved here and wants to and continues to bring more projects here. And he's not alone in that. There are other great filmmakers that have done this for years in Austin. But the big difference was he's up here. And so we got together like a year and a half ago. It was basically a year before the session started in Austin. And we talked like Rep. Goldman, who's our, state rep in the House for most of Fort Worth, Mayor Parker, Jessica, our film commissioner, and I, and Michael Crane, Councilman Crane, got together, and we were like, let's figure out how we can make the Fort Worth story, something that's known across the state as far as like the impact of film and media here. And this was also with Paul, our for TXMPA, the board that I'm on, we had said like for the state advocacy board, we want to focus on the Fort Worth story too. Mm-hmm. That way it's not like throwing 15 different stories out there to legislators. It's like, let's have one focused story that we talk about. And Rep. Goldman was great because he really like jumped on that and took that up, for his district here and for the city, and be able to work with him and just see how ultimately he says like it was an education thing, because a lot of members in the Republican Party, it was always something since the program started in 2009 that was a party line kind of vote. Mm-hmm. Usually Democrats voted for it and Republicans voted against it. And as Rep. Goldman says, he goes, they voted against it because they really didn't know better.
Yeah, they're like, we're spending money on something that doesn't help us.
Yeah, they thought it didn't help their district and constituents, or they saw some members of the Republican Party put out all this, incorrect, talking points about this is handouts for Hollywood, and it's like, no, it's not. You only get the rebate if you hire Texas crew and spend the money here.
Mm-hmm.
There's no incentive on money that is paid to someone in Hollywood.
Okay.
0.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if we fly an actor in from LA or a crew member, whatever we pay them is not at all incentivized by the state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, with Rep Goldman, and he said, it'd be great. He goes, it'd be great if we could have someone that's kind of like, a celebrity come and talk at our caucus retreat. And I forget, I think maybe Jessica said, oh, how about Taylor Sheridan? He's like, that'd be great. And so fortunately, Taylor went down and spoke at their retreat. And then later, Jessica and the Visit Fort Worth team put together a really cool screening at the Paramount during legislative session about of 1883, and then talked about the economic impact that it had across the state. And we had done a third-party economic impact study. And it showed the hard numbers of like how many people were hired from all over the state. Because again, when you got to hire that many people that are in specialty creative skills, like they don't all exist here in Fort Worth, but they do exist across the state. So ultimately, it was just like really cool to see that Fort Worth had.
So you're
such
part
a
of
big
this
hand in
little group that's like, we're gonna bring film to Texas, and we need more money to do that.
Yeah, and it was like
How
most
much
of
money-
the first half of this year was like going to Austin every other week and
Yeah,
meeting
you
with
were
legislators.
literally
and-
like talking in
Yeah.
Congress. Is it Congress or
I
What is it?
testified in on the committees that it starts with, and then
And you met with the governor, right?
Taylor met with governor and lieutenant governor. I met with the first lady, and it's been great though, just seeing like how on board everyone got with it, and how in a state that's so divided in partisan politics, like many right now, like that we were able to take something that's always been a partisan issue and get full bipartisan support and
Really?
get the biggest increase ever across, like
What'd y'all ask for?
$200 million, and we
You asked for
got
two-
what we asked for. So
And you got it.
yeah, so the entrepreneur side of me, hustler's like, man, maybe we should ask for more, but
Yeah.
no, it's we're very appreciative of it, and
Dude, I just
with
love.
that, I think it'll.
I just love that, like DJ Red hustling. You've done all this cool film stuff, and then here you are, like, because like that consumed your this year.
Yeah,
For you, that's every time I saw you, I was like, "What's going on?" And you're like, "Man, I've been in Austin. I've been campaigning." Like, you never talk about work.
yeah. People are like,
I'm like, I don't know if you're still working or not, but you're fighting. You're like a political activist now. An ambassador to bring film to Texas, and y'all got $200 million approved.
yeah,
Which is
yeah. It's
bonkers.
approved in both the House and Senate and signed by the governor, so it's funded now. As soon as that got approved, we had 2 different unions go on strike in the industry.
Mhm.
So now we'll have an even tighter window to spend all that money. So
Wow. And are there some films coming here, like shows coming here?
yeah. There's there are a few different projects looking in that are coming here, and one really big one that I
Really?
don't know if it's been announced. So
You can't talk about it.
yeah, guess not. So
Any of them in Fort Worth?
yeah, they'll be based in Fort Worth, stories about Fort Worth and West Texas. So
Cool.
yeah, so that's always the cool thing, is that like whenever it's a project that actually like the city is as a named setting in. You watch a lot of shows and TV shows, and by design, the writer or director doesn't give any geographic, specific name to where it's at. So it kind of feels like every town.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times it's like the town really is like part of the setting.
Specific.
So
Yeah. And so are you done with that hat for a season? Are you like, we did it, I'm out? Or is like this sort of political world a part of your everyday / future?
I think, it's as soon as one session's done, like we all get together and recap what worked and that, and what we want to think about for next one. And then, everyone has a little bit of time off, but ultimately too, like we're already thinking about like, what do we need to be focused on next? And what are other things that like as soon as, honestly, the industry is a 3-legged stool.
Okay.
You've got to have the right state incentives. You've got to have the right workforce, and you've got to have the studio infrastructure, the buildings and all that to create the work in. And so we knew we first had to have the incentives, because without the incentives, there's not going to be any need for a big studio or a big workforce. So once it was clear like the incentives were on a good track, we also were fortunate to, with 101 Studios, which is the production company behind Yellowstone, 1883, Bass Reeves, and all of these great shows that Sheridan does. So yeah, David Glasser's the CEO of that, and we were fortunate. Just last month, we launched a new workforce initiative that is now up and running. And it was another one of these things where only in Fort Worth, I think, can something like this happen. A year ago, John Hermanson, who was the head of production for Bass Reeves and 1883, came in and said, we got to have more workforce here. There's not enough people to hire. And didn't just say that's a problem. He said, and we want to help. And so with 101 Studios and the Film Commission and TCC, we now have a certificate program, because for a lot of roles in media, you don't have to go to school for 4 years, college for 4 years to work in that role. And so with TCC, there's a certificate program, and in 4 weeks, you can have a certificate that was curriculum built out in conjunction with 101 and with the union here and others. And then with that certificate, you can kind of stack other interest on top of it. So you could go back for another 4-week program on lighting, or another 4-week program on hair and makeup for film and TV, or another on camera. And
how cool is that?
It's really cool. And so like the first like cohort going through that certificate program is finishing up, I think like this week. And then
you get to work on a TV show.
Yeah. And then the, next TV series coming to town already has like crew spots kind of saved to hire out of that program for. So if anyone listening to this wants to work on those shows and you don't know how to do it, go to TCC's, program for the, just the film certificate program there. And that's been a really cool thing to see, like, and to your question, like, is there an off season? I guess it's like, no, because as soon as we got the incentives, it's like, well, now we need workforce. And then we also need to get a studio built here.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, man, you can just tell you light up when you talk about this.
Yeah. And I'm really fortunate to be able to sink in to these things, because we have such a great, leadership team and team at Red Productions that still make sure that we don't drop the ball and we're continuing to deliver on our clients' work.
Give you the ability to do that, which also ultimately helps your business as well. So, okay, you have a call here in like 10 minutes. So I gotta cut us. I would love to keep going, but okay, I'm gonna ask you a few quick questions. Okay. Bit of advice you would give your younger self, something that you learned. If you could go back and talk to DJ Red, what would you say?
Read The Founder's Dilemma from HBR. It talks about the idea of every entrepreneur, when you start in business, faces a choice early on, and some make it unwillingly or unknowingly. And it's the choice of, do I want to be cash rich or king? Because I think when I read that, I realized, like, I'm headed down the king path, but I don't want to be king. I don't need to be in charge of everything. So, and I'd much rather everyone, the cash rich path is one where you make more money and everyone around you makes more money too. So,
where you're empowering,
you're
delegating, you're building a team.
Yeah. And I think the way that helped change my mindset with how I lead our team and we grow our business and then the community here too. That was a big game changer.
Dude, that's great. I love that. Was going to be one of my questions. Was you have any books or resources that were pivotal?
I don't read. I'm too ADD to read a whole book, but that's an article that's a really good read. So.
I love that. What's your favorite movie? I'm gonna do some rapid questions because we got like a couple minutes.
E.T.
or movies.
Growing up.
E.T.
Yeah, and Back to the Future.
Or Spielberg.
Yeah, and those were the ones that just like got me just so excited about filmmaking and storytelling. So
I love Back to the Future.
Yeah,
so great. Favorite TV show?
Man, in this, it's so wild because there's so many now. Great shows out there.
But do you have like a pivot? It doesn't have to be current TV show. Like Pat.
I think I really like Lost was one that really changed the game for TV. And I loved it too. I mean, like we watched all of that. it was so pivotal because it was one of the first ones that you could like stream and binge, and it was and by the binge side of it too, and in the good sense, they started creating TV like books where it was like a chapter you would read, and it wasn't
storytelling.
Yeah, it wasn't just a repeat of the same story structure each week. And yeah, so I love Lost.
I love Lost. It was favorite actor.
Man. That's a hard one. I mean, Tom Hanks obviously is like incredible, but like out of people we work with, like, I don't know. We've been fortunate to work with so many great actors over the years. Jake Lacey was such a talented actor and great person to work with, and Matt Jones, who was on Breaking Bad, he committed to be in one of our movies with like 2 days notice. We had the lead drop out, and over Thanksgiving, he read the script and like showed up to set Monday. And he killed it. It was like him being cast in
2 days
A Bad Idea Gone Wrong is why we won best cast with like he and Will Rogers in Bad Idea Gone Wrong. Wow. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Favorite director?
Andrew Disney.
Oh, really? You went local.
First local. 2 films we did, and still great friend and creative collaborators. So.
And what about like big time director? You mentioned Spielberg.
Taylor Sheridan. Yeah, it's so cool to see what he's doing here, and I love it. So
that's awesome. And what's next? What's next for you?
What's next for us? We've got a few documentaries that are coming out right now, and should be out, I think, by the time this plays. One's called Show Business is My Life, but I Can't Prove It. And it's a film about Gary Mule Deer. And we've got Steve Martin and Letterman and Leno and Conan in it, all talking about this comedian who you don't know his name probably, Gary Mule Deer. And it's a great look back at success in the industry and being okay with not like making it as one of those A-list names. They're all in our film, and they're all talking about how they like envy Gary too.
Influenced by this guy.
Yeah. So that's a fun one. Check it out. It's available on all VOD platforms and Amazon. And then we have the Clyburn Crescendo is a feature documentary about the Clyburn competition that's going to be world premiering at Lone Star Film Festival. No, the world premiere was in South Korea, where the guy that won Clyburn is from a few months ago. But we'll have the North America premiere here. Nice. And that'll be fun to get to bring it home to where we shot it. And then next is like, as far as what we're shooting, we are gearing up to shoot the feature scripted version of Fruitcake, that documentary we talked about earlier, in the spring here. And so that'll be really fun to finally get across the finish line, because we've been working on that one for a while with a COVID derail. So,
well, fun, man. I appreciate you sharing the story, and I am so grateful for all that you've done for Fort Worth. You have helped make it a more fun place to live and put Fort Worth on the map, and so it's been fun, man. I feel like I've gotten to reap the rewards and benefits of just. I mean, it's really cool to have TV shows and movies filmed here, and just and seeing people in the stockyard. There's so many people like tourists now coming into our city.
Yeah,
which is cool. It's like we both love the city, and to get to share that sort of with the world. You've gotten to play a pivotal role in it. So,
well, thanks, man.
I'm grateful for it.
Thanks for doing what you're doing here, both with this podcast and your businesses here, and just like being an inspiring entrepreneur and helping share stories of other entrepreneurs. It's really cool because, I think the other big thing we always talked about, and especially in Self-Employed with Jonathan, is like we believe so much in like collaboration over competition, and that's always been like that's why we started I wanted to start the film commission here. Just like I love that Fort Worth is growing into a more creative hotbed, and that so many people are looking to it now. As far as like, we have so many friends from Austin, they're like moving up here because they're like, this feels like what Austin used to be.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations, you made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Stories with Soul. If you enjoyed the interview and like what you heard, please help us out and share, subscribe, and like
anywhere you listen to podcasts. When you share and subscribe, it is insanely helpful and allows us to keep producing new episodes. You can always join us directly in the studio by watching the video version on our website, 6thAveStorytelling.com. Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling, an organic marketing company building standout brands on the foundation of story. You're obsessed with your business, and we want to make the world obsessed with it too. Thanks for listening.